Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I am excited to be bringing you guys week 1 of the P4G Next Generation. It seems like this draft took place forever ago. I have been eager to use this team. I've been really itching to see it in action, and we are going to do so versus our good buddy RecklessBat, aka Nick, and his Texas Tyrantrums. Let's go through his team real quick. He has Weavile, Gengar, Whimsicott, Tyrantrum, Hitmonlee, Raichu, Genesect, Suicune, Uxie, Moltres, and Sandslash. We'll do a quick team breakdown. I'll show you the team that I'm bringing, and we'll hop straight into the battle. I think the biggest threat on his side is definitely Genesect. It just has the ability to U-turn a lot versus me, and I don't have a lot of great ways to pressure that, or to punish that. I really want to get up rocks in order to whittle that thing down over time. He has some setup threats on his team. I'm mainly scared of like Hitmonlee and Tyrantrum. They're pretty scary. I do have some decent ways to revenge kill those, mainly with Scizor, so I'll have to keep that in mind. Suicune and Uxie are both, fat, annoying threats. Could potentially set up, but I think something like Suicune in particular, and Uxie as well, are forced into defensive roles this week to deal with my water offense. He does not have good switch-ins to Volcanion besides Suicune, and if I can use Volcanion to weaken his Suicune, that will pave the way for Seismitoad to sweep. Tapu Koko is also very scary versus him. He only has Raichu and Sandslash to really even remotely check that thing. And if I can whittle those, I should be in good position. And the nice thing is that Seismitoad takes care of those two Pokemon quite well. So one way or the other, Tapu Koko or Seismitoad is probably going to be my sweeper. So I won't waste any more time. We'll just go quickly through this team, and then we can hop into the battle. I've got a mixed Koko this week, U-turn, Wild Charge, Dazzling Gleam, and Taunt. We have enough special attack on this thing to one-shot an uninvested Tyrantrum with Dazzling Gleam. We do have enough speed to outspeed a +1 Adamant Tyrantrum, but not a +1 Jolly. It's not possible to do that. Wild Charge is better than Thunderbolt this week, in my opinion, because Suicune, just on the off chance that it's Calm Mind, I want to be able to hit that, on the side that it's not boosting on. But I think most likely a Spadef set's coming, so this also takes better advantage of that. And Taunt is there mostly for a Spadef Wish Raichu, which is my anticipated counter, that's the counter that I'm anticipating him to bring. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So very good Mon this week. Next up, we have Volcanion with choice specs: Steam Eruption, Flamethrower, Hidden Power Electric, and Toxic. We have a ton of speed up on this thing, reason being that I don't want to give Genesect a special attack boost because, like I mentioned, it's got great coverage on the special side, and it really does a lot of damage to my team. And so that's why we've got this. Steam Eruption with choice specs, especially with the rain boost, just destroys his team. We don't even need full special attack investment to do a lot of damage. We do have enough speed on this thing for Uxie, which is very nice. We can, especially in the rain, I think we can even 2-KO it with Steam Eruption, so that's very nice. Next up, we have Rindo Berry Seismitoad. I wanted to put a damage boosting item on this, like Mystic Water or Life Orb or something like that, but I want the ability to potentially put up rocks with this Pokemon, and Rindo Berry allows me to do that versus the majority of his team. So if he's got a Raichu with enough coverage to hit Seismitoad, I can then, survive a hit with Rindo Berry. But otherwise, we have a modest nature, full special attack investment, a lot of speed. This is enough to outspeed a max speed Choice Scarf Genesect. So if we whittle the team to the point, where Uxie's low, Suicune's low, Seismitoad just goes in with the Swift Swim ability, which is really awesome. I'm hoping that Seismitoad kind of puts on a show this week, and then the whole rest of the season, everyone has to fear and respect my ability to bring threatening rain sweepers. Next up, we have an Assault Vest Muck, Knockoff Pursuit, Poison Jab, Brick Break. We also have a lot of Fizz Def investment on this thing. Again, not enough so that we give Genesect an attack boost. Sorry, not enough so that we give it a special attack boost. The reason that I want a lot of defense investment on this thing is to make it a secondary check to Weavile, which is really important because Weavile can win games on its own. Luckily, I do have a few ways to check it, but you can never be too safe. And then this is my dedicated switch into things like Gengar. It also switches in very well to the likes of Raichu, Uxie, things like that. Next, we have Scizor, our Tony Stark, Roost U-turn, Bullet Punch knockoff. I originally was thinking of running SD instead of U-turn on this set, but I don't think we need any more sweeping potential on this team. So I wanted U-turn to have the ability to bring in my things like Volcanion more easily. And again, we are putting enough special defense investment on this thing where it's got more special defense than defense when we Mega Evolve. And I can show you that just by making this quick adjustment here. And yes, 162 versus 165. I felt like that was the best investment of EVs. This Pokemon can, with just the max HP investment in 12 into defense, it can live a Adamant Choice Banded Head Smash from Tyrantrum, which means that if it gets to +1 with a Dragon Dance with an Adamant nature, assuming that it doesn't have a boosting item and it's got like a berry of some sort, Roselli Berry, Yachi Berry, hopefully just not Babiri Berry, we can two-shot it with Bullet Punch and then take it out. But yeah, this is my check for that, for a Unburden Hitmonlee, and it's also there for Weavile. Scizor is the best check to Weavile in the game, so I'm very lucky to have that on my team. And last but not least, I've got Pelipper, Scald, U-turn, Roost, Defog. I don't really need the Flying Stab. Whimsicott's not a Pokemon I anticipate coming in this matchup, and even if I do, it's just not that bulky. Like, Scald is still annoying to it, especially in the rain, and with its ability to potentially burn. So I'm going to give it longevity with Roost, the ability to remove hazards with Defog, because lots of members of my team don't appreciate it, and U-turn to once again bring in some of my biggest threats like Tapu Koko and Volcanion. Rocky Helmet is the item on here to punish U-turns from Genesect. I guess this is kind of one of my best answers to Genesect on the team. I originally had Wakan Berry on it because you know, that allowed me to check it better, but I realized that as long as I can get like 25% damage on the Genesect, that Seismitoad easily takes it out with a rain boosted Hydro Pump. So that's the team this week, and let's go on over and switch to the battle. So as you can see, Nyx brought Gengar, Weavile, Genesect, Suicune, Raichu, and Sandslash. So a lot of what I expected. I mocked versus a very similar team. Big shout out to Omega Jolteon for helping me out with the mock battle. He brought the first 5, but instead of Sandslash, he had brought Uxie. So I figured they're probably going to serve similar roles, just being like fat annoying Pokemon that can set up Stealth Rocks. Sandslash has the added benefit of course, being able to Rapid Spin, and it's a pretty good check to Tapu Koko. Fortunately, I do have the ability to U-turn on it, and I can go pretty safely into Pokemon like Pelipper or even Scizor. Scizor's just so bulky, and looking at his team, he doesn't have a lot that really threatens it. I kind of have to be aware of Scald Burns from Suicune, Will-O-Wisp from Gengar, and not much else. Like, he could have Hidden Power Fire on, like, Raichu. He could have, like, Natural Gift on Weavile, but Scizor's looking really nice here. And as I mentioned in the team builder, that Seismitoad, if Suicune gets weakened, is going to be really nice in this matchup. I'm going to rely a lot on Volcanion to do that. I can also use Tapu Koko, of course, to remove Suicune, but he's got a lot of safe pivots into Tapu Koko, so if I can weaken those at any point, that's going to be really beneficial. And yeah, so in terms of the lead, I'm thinking Tapu Koko, and I'm thinking he's going to lead with his Scarfer. So I can, like if it's Genesect, for example, what I'm planning to do is lead Koko and then go hard into Pelipper. Because if he's just going to U-turn on me, I can actually get a bit of Rocky Helmet chip, and that puts him in position to die to a Rain Boosted Hydro Pump from Seismitoad. Especially if I get up Rocks. I think if I get up Rocks, it guarantees that it's not a roll, but I think it does like 84% or something like that from Toad minimum. You know, gotta love battling at level 50. It really reduces the effectiveness of the defenses, I guess. It improves your effectiveness of your offense, so that's pretty nice. So let's hop on in and see how we're gonna face off in this battle. Good luck, Nick. Have fun. And you see him there with his bucket hat. It's pretty funny. He's got some gray hair too. I don't know if he's going for like the handsome elderly man look or exactly what's going on. But as you can see, me and my ripped off jeans do lead up with Tapu Koko as he leads with Gengar. So I'm a little worried about this being Scarfed, as I mentioned. You know, I thought he might lead with his Scarfer. If this thing has Sludge Wave, it could definitely knock me out in one turn. So I'm going to scout for that by going into Muck. And if he does just choose to stay in and click that move, we're going to be able to Pursuit Trap him and probably knock him out. But he does make a smart double, and he goes right on into Sandslash. And so it does reveal that Gengar is not Scarf, so that's nice. I don't have to worry about that. But I'm not in a favorable position here because Sandslash, of course, threatens Muck pretty heavily. I'm going to go right into Pelipper because if he does go for the ground move, I'm, of course, immune. and if he chooses to go for rocks, I can pretty easily defog on that. So there's a couple good options here right off the bat. The only problem with potentially defogging in a moment here is that it does lose me a lot of momentum. Like, I want to get the rocks off the field for things like Volcanion and Tapu Koko. Like, even though it's not weak to rocks, repeatedly switching in isn't good for Koko. But I do go for the defog, and he does go into Raichu, so he threatens me pretty hard right here. And I'm going to have to go into my Seismitoad on the expected electric move here. And this does make me nervous because Seismitoad is one of my win cons. I have some trauma from PMC D-League back like 2 years ago. I had a Swift Swim Seismitoad and switched it in on a Hidden Power Grass from Manectric. But anyway, I'm going to go for Earth Power because it's pretty free versus his team. And I thought it might do more damage to the Raichu, but it actually turns out that this is an Assault Vest Raichu. And I should have had some alarm bells going off as soon as I saw the knockoff on the Raichu. I was expecting a Spadef, like Wish Protect Raichu, because that's very good for dealing with Tapu Koko. But as soon as I saw knockoff, I should have realized that he wasn't running that sort of set. And he does have the coverage move in Grass Knot to take out my Toad, which really stinks because that, like I mentioned, was going to potentially win me the game in the later game. So I have to go back into my Koko, and he's threatened back into his Sand Slash because my U-turn would be able to kill the Raichu at that point. So he does go into Sand Slash, takes that U-turn fairly well. I'm thinking that this is a Fizdef, so that's why I took the U-turn so well. But because I have my Volcanion here, rocks are not up, this is a really nice chance for me to go into Volcanion. And because the Suicune switch-in is extremely obvious, I'm thinking Toxic is the right play here. And he does switch into his Raichu instead. So I don't know if he predicted the Toxic or if he was just stacking it off to Steam Eruption, but this actually kind of screws me up because now my Volcanion's going to have to switch out here, and his Raichu is still alive and well. Well, maybe it's not well. It's kind of suffering. It's got the toxic, you know, it's got some sort of endotoxins stuck in its body or whatever. But I'm going to switch into Muck now because without Seismitoad, this is really my only thing that can potentially switch into Volt Switch. But he obviously can now go back into his Sand Slash, and I'm in kind of a bad position here. At least I'm not trapped in the Vortex. Like, he could have gone into something like Genesect and continued to get momentum. But as it is, I'm going to go into my Sizzler this time. Because I went into Pelipper last time, I was afraid he might go for a Rock move versus Pelipper, you know, anticipating that switch in. But this is decent for me because now I can go for a Mega Evolution, get all that extra bulk. Sizzler, like I mentioned, is just so bulky, and he doesn't have like any really threatening fire type moves on his team as far as I can tell. Like, this Genesect is definitely the most threatening thing to Sizzler because this is almost certainly packing Flamethrower. But I'm going to be able to get off my Mega Evolution, and I am just going to click U-turn. Reason being, I can, you know, he's most likely going to switch because he doesn't want to get knocked off or he doesn't want to get set up on or anything like that. But I can very easily then just pivot on out of here and go into my Koko. I go into Koko because I once again want to scout a Scarf on this thing. If he is Scarf and he's got something like Gunk Shot, he's going to go for it now. And if he just U-turns, I want to go into my Pelipper and get off the Rocky Helmet chip because that's very nice. Although at this point, like, he's probably in range of Wild Charge. But again, I just want to try and figure out what he's going for. If he does go for Gunk Shot, it's not going to kill my Pelipper, and I can then pivot back into Sizzler. But he makes a double, and this time he goes into Sand Slash. This is actually good for me. I have two options here. I can either just go for a Scald and try and get some damage off, or I can go for a Defog. I'm worried about him making the same play back into something like Raichu, so I just go for the Scald here. And if he does choose to stay in with his Sand Slash, getting the Scald damage on it would be really nice. If it doesn't straight up kill it, it definitely puts it in range of something like Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Koko. And then because of the fact that he's got no Scarfers on the team, Tapu Koko would pretty much sweep at that point. He goes into his Gengar, get a tremendous damage, which is really great. It puts it in range of Bullet Punch. I go into Sizzler because I am expecting that T-Bolt from the Gengar, and I take it pretty easily. He does show the Life Orb. I didn't actually see that in the battle, but I knew from the damage that he at least wasn't Specs. So I go for the Bullet Punch, you know, thinking that he might try and switch up his moves and stay in. But he makes a, you know, very good and safe play going back into Suicune, and I'm regretting the Bullet Punch now just because I've lost so much momentum. I don't really have an awesome switch into Suicune, so I'm going to make a double back into my Pelipper as he brings out his Raichu. This was a really nice switch on his part because I don't have any responses to this thing with the Seismitoad being gone. And because it's gone, I don't really need the rain. It's nice to protect Scizor, but like I mentioned, I'm not really scared of Hidden Power Fire from many of his members. I'm just really afraid of Flamethrower on Genesect. That's really the only thing. So I choose to let my Pelipper go down, anticipating his Volt Switch, and then that gives me the opportunity to get a little bit of momentum on my end. I'm going to go into Scizor because this once again threatens him with the Bullet Punch. I'm hoping that he makes the same play that he made before, and I can just go for U-turn this time instead of going for the Bullet Punch. And he does go into Suicune just as he did before, so his plan is working out for me so far. Just gotta hope that I can follow it up and make the correct play. I'm pretty sure I go into Tapu Koko here, just because I can very much definitely scare this thing. And it's a tough play here, right? Is he gonna go into Raichu? Is he gonna go into Sandslash, or is he going to stay in? I felt like the best potential option for all of those things was just to go for a Dazzling Gleam, because that would do a decent chunk of damage to this Suicune. It actually appears to be a physically defensive Suicune, so Dazzling Gleam would do a chunk. And so he does go into his Raichu now, and I'm going to be able to kill this thing pretty easily with the Dazzling Gleam. So one Tapu Koko check is down. We are now still down, but we are 4-5 at least instead of 4-6. Now he's going to go hard Sandslash. I can very easily U-turn out on this and just go right back on into the Scizor. And Scizor is getting a little bit low, so if he does go for Earthquake here, I'm going to have to follow up with a Roost, which is going to give him a free switch into something, most likely Genesect. So he's going to go for that EQ. He does not crit, which does mean that I am going to survive. So the Sandslash is just so annoying. I haven't gotten the chance to really get any damage on it whatsoever. He's playing very smartly with it. I do like Shiny Sandslash too. It's got those red hair, I guess you could call it. But anyway, I go for the Roost. He instead goes into Suicune instead of Genesect, which makes sense. Like, this thing, it seems like it's built to deal with Scizor being pretty physically defensive. It's got leftovers. I'm almost 99% sure that this is not a Rest Talk set, because I do have the Electric Terrain, which prevents it from going for Rest. So that's one thing to take into account. I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of like Toxic Protect set. That's what I mocked versus, and it makes a lot of sense versus my team. It's a very good way to wear down Volcanion, because as you can see, Suicune doesn't really threaten Volcanion with any sort of offensive moves at all. I'm able to switch into the Scald, and it actually mitigates the damage that I took from rocks, which is really nice. I go for Hidden Power Electric as he goes for the Toxic now. In hindsight, I guess he wouldn't have known if it was Hidden Power Electric or Hidden Power Grass. I did run Hidden Power Electric, not really for any good reason, but the Electric Terrain would have boosted up the Hidden Power Electric, which is pretty cute. So I didn't realize that, he might not know, and so I was worried that he was going to go into Sandslash here, trying to absorb the Hidden Power Electric, but he instead stays in with Suicune and goes for the Protect. So now I'm confirmed that he is a Toxic Protect set, which makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go for a Roost as he goes for Ice Beam. Now, this was kind of a awkward set of turns. He could have gone for a Scald, but I guess he was afraid of me going back into Volcanion or something. I don't really know. I don't think he was trying to go for Freezes. But now I know this thing's full moveset, which is nice. If I can tank this next move without getting status, I can get a free U-turn back into Koko. And lucky for me, that's exactly what's going to happen. So this exchange, even though it was kind of weird, it is very treacherous, it works out for me. So I'm very grateful for that. Koko's going to come in, and this is another sort of 50-50, but I think Wild Charge is definitely my right play, because if I go for U-turn and the Suicune stays in, I lose a whole lot more momentum than if I go for Wild Charge and he switches in Sandslash. Because if I do that, I can easily U-turn into Scizor and make another play from there. He'll be pressured to go back into his Suicune, and I can U-turn again. So I really don't mind. And as you see, he did leave in his Suicune, and we were able to remove that threat. So now Sandslash is in. I'm going to go for a U-turn. And this is once again going to get me into my Scizor. Every little bit of chip damage on this Sandslash is very nice. So I'm just hoping that he continues to allow me to switch it in. You know, and he goes for another Earthquake. We saw before, this really doesn't do a lot of damage to Scizor. Maybe it does like 30% or so. I don't know if I go for Roost or if I go for U-turn on this play. I think actually what I do is I go for a knockoff. Because if he leaves in Sandslash, I'm happy to remove its leftovers. This thing has recovered so much health with its leftovers. So if I could weaken it for Tapu Koko, that puts me into a really good position. He instead switches in his Genesect, and so I'm happy to remove whatever item this thing might have. And it does reveal to be Akaberry, so it doesn't really give me a lot of information on what sort of set it is. You know, it's some sort of lure for Volcanion or something like that. At this point, this is Volcanion is my best switch in to Genesect, and he does go for the Rock Polish. And this makes my jaw drop. Like, my heart sinks into my stomach. I'm really worried about losing this battle now because he could just go for T-Bolt here and polish off my team. He actually instead goes for Technoblast. Like, I can't imagine that he wasn't packing Thunderbolt, so I'm not sure why he chose to go for Technoblast here. But in any case, it does work out for me because now my Volcanion does survive and we do eliminate the threat that is Genesect. So, not really sure. I actually didn't ask Nick what his moveset was on Genesect, but definitely works out for me. Now he goes into a Sandslash, which is also kind of interesting. Maybe he didn't expect me to be so speedy. Like, we're not going to kill it, but this is what I've been waiting for this whole battle. I wanted to get some damage onto Sandslash so that I could just straight up kill it with Tapu Koko, which is, you know, finally, you know, what I've been waiting for this whole match. Instead of going into Koko immediately, I'm actually going to go into Scizor because it does appear that even a max defense Sandslash is in range of Bullet Punch. And I'm thinking that Bullet Punch actually cleans up the game at this point. I didn't anticipate that this was how the game was going to play out. I really thought, like I said, that either Tapu Koko or Seismitoad were going to be the ones who won the game. But Scizor is looking like it's going to pull it off for me. I take out the Sandslash and he sends in his Weavile. Little did I know that it's actually a roll to kill a max HP Weavile with Bullet Punch, so I'm hoping that I can get the roll here, and we can see that it's actually like only does like 90%. It turns out that this Weavile had 76 HP EVs, which still made it a roll to kill, but it was like 37% to kill, so it was in his favor. And we don't get it, and he's going to be able to remove my Scizor here easily with this Black Hole Eclipse. So now I'm in a little bit of a tricky position. He's almost certainly an Adamant Weavile. There's nothing on my team that would require him to run Jolly. And Ice Shard, even from a non-boosting item, it has a very good chance to kill the Tapu Koko from the range that it's at. So I instead have to go into Muck and pray that he does not get an Icicle Crash Flinch. Because if he does, I think he can 2-hit KO me, even with all the Fizdef investment that I have. He brings me down to 67, and I do land that knockoff, which is very nice. So, we were able to kill the Weavile. Now all he's got left is Gengar. If he somehow has a way to kill me, you know, I guess like a Life Orb Focus Blast might be able to do the job. I'm not 100% sure. But, you know, if I do somehow die, I do have the Tapu Koko, and I can go for the Wild Charge pretty easily. He now goes for the Destiny Bond, and even though that is going to kill my Muck is going to be able to take out the Gengar. And once my HP drops all the way to 0, that is going to leave me with an extremely narrow 1-0 victory. So, shoutouts to Nick. This was a super close battle. This is one of the closest battles that I've had in a long time. It was definitely a lot of fun. I gotta be honest, I thought that I was pretty favored at Team Preview. Or just even, you know, the 11-on-11 matchup I thought was really in my favor. He doesn't have good water answers. He doesn't have good Tapu Koko answers, generally speaking. But he made it really interesting. That Raichu set just really screwed me up. Losing my Toad so early was a big problem. And I didn't think I was going to be able to recover. But just a couple of interesting turns, like the Genesect going for Technoblast, and the Sandslash coming in after the Genesect went down, really swing it back in my favor. And so I'm grateful that we were able to get a win, and I'm grateful that it was also a really fun battle. So if you guys don't already know Nick, aka RecklessBat, please go check him out. His link's going to be down in the description below. And we're going to be having lots of great content on the channel in the coming weeks and the coming months. We've got another P4G battle, of course, going up next week, and UBC is also starting next week, so I hope you guys check that out. Going to have plenty of duel links on the channel for the next couple of weeks, so hope you're looking forward to that. If any of that sounds interesting to you, hope you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on all of that action, and you can check back to the channel for all the other gaming and Pokemon content that I do. So, until the next time, I will see you guys later.